All right. It's Saturday night, and it has been a busy day. Conroe ISD had our health care. What am I trying to say? Our health fair. And we worked that this morning, and that was so awesome, and what a great crowd of people. I do think the crowd was down because of the closure on I-45 South, so if you live south of Sawdust Road, you knew that if you went that way, then going back home could be quite a problem. So I do think some of the crowd was down, but it still was really good. I love that Conroe does that for their employees. It's a free health fair, and they have testing for your A1C numbers and mammograms and all sorts of stuff. And then a bunch of vendors are there, so it's really pretty cool. And it's gotten so big because Conroe's been doing it for so long that you have to actually ask to register as a vendor in October or you can't get in. That's how crazy busy it is. And if you're not familiar with our area north of Houston, Conroe ISD employs about 6,000 people. So really big school district. So anyway, I missed yesterday. It was quite a day. I had a couple of funerals to go to, and then also putting out the flags for the Willis Band because that is our big fundraiser. So needless to say, by the time we were done with all that, I thought, I don't think I could do it. Just couldn't do it. So, all right. So 10 days of health tips. So we're on tips 6 and 7. Number 6 is exercise. I am a kinesiology major, and I coached basketball for 9 years and track and volleyball. Just depending on which year. I think one year I did all three when I was in San Antonio, and that's, I don't know if you guys have ever coached, but if you're doing volleyball, basketball, and track, that is a long, long year. But anyway, and then I went to the classroom to teach government, which I love. That's a whole nother story. But I'm an exerciser. I have always enjoyed movement, and I've always made time for it, or almost always. And I'm one of those people that you might see on the elliptical in the gym for 45 minutes, and I have an elliptical upstairs. So here's what I want to tell you. As my body has aged, I am now in my 50s, and one of the things I started to see is anytime I was trying to get on a health kick and trying to lose weight, I was always thinking, okay, I've got to burn some calories because I do like eating and blah, 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 blah. And I would tell myself this. Well, at this point, I couldn't even, 2 years ago, I couldn't run anymore. So that wasn't even because I would injure myself, and I have, bursitis in my hips and, blah, blah, knee problems. And so I couldn't really do that. That's why I always gravitated to the elliptical. But here's what I found out. It didn't really matter how much I exercised. It didn't seem to really help me lose weight, really. Really what was helping me lose weight was my nutrition, it's in the kitchen, basically. So that was the coolest thing about my weight loss, losing 45 pounds in the 5.5 months that I lost it, is I started exercising some, but just getting really busy in the year as typical and just doing other things. And I realized I was losing the weight anyway. And so I really didn't focus that much on the aerobic exercise that I always had done. And one of the things that our system teaches is that you're not going to be able to out-exercise your fork. So the fork is the most important thing. And so I really was focusing on that. Now, having said that, my New Year's resolution is to be more fit, but I'm just focusing in a little bit different way. Instead of this really, really high intensity elliptical or running or something like that, I'm doing more of the walking and doing more of the yoga and doing more resistance exercise. And I love weights. I love doing pumping the iron, and I'm a kid of the 80s, in the early 80s, when the girls didn't get to get in the weight room, and so I love doing that. So exercise is super, super important, but the most important thing is your nutrition, because you're not going to out-exercise if you're eating a bunch of calories, unless you're a triathlete or something. It's going to be extremely difficult to do that. So, and I see so many people that injure themselves, and that is not worth doing, injuring yourself, because then you're sidelined. So, all right, so number 7, okay, is dining out. Dining out, y'all, is so easy. Of course, in America, if you've ever traveled abroad to, say, to Europe, you will see how much smaller their portions are. In America, we seem to think that the best dining is these huge platters of food. If you're in the South, chicken fried steak and oh my goodness, there's so many things I could name off about the stuff that we eat. But the thing is, they serve too much. There's just too much on the plate. And you can eat healthy, but you probably should box up about half of what they bring you, or split it with somebody that you're with, or go to, like, say, if you're at Chili's, they have a Guiltless Grill. You can go and order there. If you go to Outback, they have some really healthy choices with their fish, and even their salads are really healthy. The only challenges I've really ever run into is Mexican food. Mexican food is so big in South Texas, as we all know. That is a challenge. And so when we were in our weight loss phase, Mike and I, we really just didn't go to eat Mexican food because we were like, we like the chips and salsa. But one of my friends did a really clever thing. Her husband really likes chips and salsa and really likes Mexican food. So she started slicing up zucchini, and she would take it in a little sandwich bag, and she would have them bring her an extra cup of salsa, and she just dip her zucchini in that salsa so that she could be social with him and eat and talk. And I was like, that is brilliant. And then I heard somebody else tell me, one of my other friends say, hey, but I think at Chili's, they'll bring you a cup of salsa, and they'll bring you that celery that they bring with their buffalo wings. So you can ask them to bring celery and dip it into the salsa so you can be social with the other people at the table, and you don't have to eat those chips. But even better yet, if you're going to go somewhere and go out, tell the waiter or waitress, if it's like you and your husband or wife and they're all in with you as far as your health journey, just tell them, don't bring me the bread. Don't bring me the chips and salsa, because that's just hard. That's a temptation. Why put it on the table? But if you are with people and you're feeling like you want to be social with them, there are some other tricks that you can do, like bringing that zucchini, like asking for the celery, asking for something. And again, with the Mexican food, after that, after the real food arrives, it's really not so tough at a Mexican food restaurant, because you can always get the carne asada, which is basically fajitas without all the other stuff. You can get the chicken and beef fajita platter and just not eat it with the tortillas. And they also will usually grill vegetables like squash and things like that for you, and go ahead and serve it with your meat. So just ask them. They also, a lot of times the Mexican food restaurants will have salads that are fairly healthy. Just get your dressing on the side, because a lot of times restaurants dump way too much dressing on the salad. So you could either bring your own salad dressing, or you could ask them to bring it on the side, and you could just dip it in there. But I know we love our Mexican food. All of us that were raised in Texas love our Mexican food. So those are some healthy tips when you go to those kind of restaurants. But other than that, I've never really run into a problem at any restaurants in the U.S. as far as eating out and staying healthy, except that we get too much food on our plate. So either share your entree with somebody, or go ahead and ask for a to-go box right from the get-go and box up half of it, and only eat the portion size that you should have. So tip number 6 is your exercise. You're not going to out-exercise your fork unless you're a marathon runner or a triathlete, like Juris Green is here. Yeah, he can out-exercise his fork because he's running all the time. So, and his guys, they're all skinny because they're all running 20 miles a day. One of the other cults besides band. But most of us can't. And now that I'm in my 50s, it just seems like I injure myself if I go at it too hard. So don't do that. Work more on your nutrition, and then work on just doing your core and doing things that are not so high impact and high intensity. And then eating out, you got it. You just have to make up your mind before you go out. You might want to just have a few almonds or maybe a thing of Greek yogurt, so that when you go to the restaurant, you're not like starving, because that's never a good thing. So it's all doable, y'all. It's all about making up your mind to do it, and you can do this. So Have a happy Saturday night, and I will see you tomorrow night with tip number, what are we? 8. Tip number 8. And we will see you later. Good night.